Okay, it is a gorgeous Saturday morning. Good morning, y'all. I hope you're ready. We got a great video planned today. Today, we are going to go all the way out to the middle of nowhere, even more nowhere than this beautiful cow pasture grazing field. And we're going to do the interview with Mr. Paul Smith. So I hope you're ready, because I know I am definitely been looking forward to this for a while now. I got to meet this man in person very, very recently, but I am really looking forward to picking his brain and learning as much as I can and really getting a good inside view of the chicken industry and the next steps that I need to take to grow and develop as a chicken farmer myself. So stay tuned. Here we go. This really is turning out to be a gorgeous, gorgeous day. It is clear. There are like no clouds out here at all, but the sun is just shining. It's gonna get hot later, so I'm glad we're arriving early. Look at this beautiful scenery. It is such a pretty drive out to Gainesville. It's going to be a scorcher today, though. I tell you what, that sun is shining. There are no clouds stopping it at all. So I'm really glad we got an early start. If you're working on a farm and you're working with like animals and stuff a lot, it's really good to take advantage of those morning hours. And we're going to get to look at his chickens. We're going to get to meet Mr. Paul Smith himself, of course. And we're also going to get to see some of his garden and his farm. So yay, some of my gardening fans out there are about to get to see. So there's some stuff in this video for y'all too. So awesome. And then after we get to tour Mr. Paul Smith's farm itself, we're actually going to go inside and he's going to give me just straight facts. We're going to learn everything we can, pick his brain as much as we can, and find out like what exactly are the specific details about Ameraucana and how, you know, what do you look for if you're going to buy a good Ameraucana that you can breed or that you can raise up into show birds? What do you look for? How do you know that it's an Ameraucana, not an Easter egg? Or how do you know that it's got the right proportions and body shape and feather pattern? And, you know, can you breed different color Ameraucana together and it still be considered Ameraucana? Or see, the problem is, I told y'all, if you are going to correct me. Give me the facts. I want to learn. And the problem is, y'all went on and told me that I made mistakes, but you didn't tell me what mistakes I made. So I'm left to guess. And that's why we've actually scheduled this appointment to meet with Mr. Smith, because he is truly an expert. And I definitely want you to hear what his qualifications are, so you know that this individual knows what they're talking about, even if the other day I made some minor boo-boos, and I'm actually looking forward to finding out what those boo-boos are. So, hey guys, if you're going to comment, if you're going to tell me, hey, you messed up, please tell me how I messed up. I know it's hard to go in and to actually reach me personally, like you can't private message through YouTube. I've discovered this. Sorry about that. And I don't mind it being public. I want my audience to learn. I want you to learn. I want to learn. So we are here today on an adventure to grow. Okay, so we made it. It was a long drive, about 2.5 hours altogether, but it was worth it. It was so gorgeous, and we've come out here. And I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Paul Smith. It's great to see you again. Thank you so much for having me out here today. So we're going to later go out and check out all of the birds. We've got our Gatorade on hand, ready to go for a hot summer Texas sun. But in the meantime, I want y'all first to get to know who Mr. Smith is and kind of explain to you what we're doing here. So, Paul, could you go ahead and tell everybody in my audience what your credentials are? Like, why am I talking to you and not somebody else? What makes your knowledge so good?
Well, it started in March of 1999. That was when we got our first Americanas. Prior to that, for 4 years, we raised Easter eggers until we found out about the real deal. And we ordered some from 2 different sources, John Blim and Urch Hatchery, and they both came the same day, baby chicks. And that was the starting point.
How many did you get to start out?
There was 25 in each box, so we started with 50.
You got broken good.
They were black and blue, silver, and then later we purchased. We went to a show in Belvedere, Illinois. It was our very first Ameraucana show, and there we got to meet some of the beginning people that started the breed. Mike Gilbert was one of them, and of course we got to meet John Blim, which we got ours from.
Now for y'all, Mike Gilbert and some of them, Ameraucana are actually a fairly new breed. They haven't been accepted by the A.P.A. for show for very long. And what that means was there wasn't like standards that they had to meet, and you couldn't show them in shows, and they weren't considered a heritage breed yet. And it was pretty recently that they were actually accepted. Do you remember what year?
1984.
1984, and Mike Gilbert was one of the people right there involved in that whole process.
He was the main drive behind getting the breed recognized.
What was the first color recognized?
Wheaton.
Wheaton. Wow, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Wheaton's whites, and then I'd have to do some research to find out the rest of them.
It's okay.
Mike started with Bantams, and he already had a flock of Easter eggers, and then there were some other people, and basically for a long time it was only 3 that was actually breeding them, and they were trying to come up with a standard. That's the difference between Ameraucana and an Easter egger. The Easter egger has no standard at all. I mean, they could have every kind of comb that there is available. They could have every color of shank that's available.
They have feathered legs.
Everything.
Yeah,
there's no standard. But the Americanas, there was a group of people that got together and they set what they wanted them to be. And what they have to have is they have to have muffs and beards and a pea comb to start with. And if they don't have that, they don't qualify. Yeah. And then, of course, there's other things too. They've got to have the right colors of shanks. Started out with slate shanks, which is slate's a shade of blue. Of course, the shanks is what a lot of people call the legs. But blacks were allowed to have either slate legs or black legs. And then I introduced the legislation to change it in 2006 to allow blues to also have slate legs or black legs.
Oh, okay,
or
cool.
Shanks, rather.
Shanks, yeah, shanks is the proper term for legs. I tend to say legs too. My audience is familiar with that kind of squirreliness.
That just happens out of habit.
Yeah.
And then added to that was the brown reds, that because before it was all said and done, the membership voted to approve it at the national meet, and then Mike checked into it. He said he wanted to go to Wayne Meredith and see his birds, because that was where the majority of all of them came from. People who got a start, which that's where we got our start at Wheaton's.
So you were integral in the process of getting the breed standards and everything laid out, and you've been at this. You said what year did you start?
1999.
99. So that's the year you were born, son. That's my son's age, was born in that year. So over 23 years now.
23 years.
Wow. And you started with Wheaton Ameraucana?
I started with black, blue, and
black,
silver.
blue, and silver. Okay. And then so.
And then we added Wheaton and blue Wheaton. September of that year.
When was it that was it president or vice president, or did you serve both positions at separate points?
I was asked in 2001 to be district director. And I turned the job down. I said, I want to know more about it first.
Right.
And then in 2003, I agreed. And then I was the district director until 2021.
Okay, so just a couple
years. Then I served as president for 2 years, and now Gene Ryback is president again.
Yeah.
And we've seen the Ameraucana breed grow from a few hidden in the back of a showroom to be in the main central aisles, both aisles full. And last year it was revealed that more Americanas were shown at A.P.A shows than any other breed.
That's because people like me love them. They're beautiful birds. I love the fact that you can mix them and get so many shades of the greens. And I know that doesn't help the breed any. The problem is people want to mix them and get all of those shades, and then you lose the pure bloods. And that's why it's so important when you breed to meet to certain standards as far as how you're doing your breeding, how you're doing your housing, and when you put them together. And you can have two perfect parents and put them together and only get maybe one or two show quality birds out of them. So it's not easy to get those perfect standards, just like with any other breed. But the thing is that Ameraucana I consider them the most versatile chicken out there, because you can literally mix them with anything to produce just about any color, any egg color that you want for your backyard layers. And if you're wanting to help build the breed and get those true standards of perfection, that is an option now too. So whereas that wasn't not that long ago. So it's really, really neat to get a chance to meet you and to learn more about this really great species. So earlier we talked about things that you've got to have in Ameraucanas: the beard, the muffs, the slate colored legs for all of the colors except for the black and the, was it the blue you said?
Black, blue, and brown red can have either slate or black legs.
So black, blue, or brown, red, I'm trying to memorize this stuff as we go myself, can have either slate or black legs, whereas like the Wheaton and them have to have just the slate legs. In my last video, this is why we're out here. In my last video, I had done the video on Ameraucana, but there's such a new breed and there's so much misinformation out there. What are some of the myths that you've heard people say that, oh, this is what makes it Ameraucana, or this is not an Ameraucana, that are wrong? Like, what are some of that misinformation that you hear a lot?
Well, let's go back to where the breed came from. In the 1920s, there was a man that worked for a university that he went to Chile, and he brought back some blue eggs from the Ameraucana Indian. The hatcheries managed to get some of the breeding, and they crossed those with everything. Mm-hmm. And if a bird laid an off-colored egg, off-colored meaning not white or not brown, it was called Ameraucana. Mm-hmm. Araucana, or this kind of cana, or that kind of cana.
Yeah.
Well, actually, all they were was a mutt. There was no genetic basis. It was incapable of being reproduced. And that was whenever Mike got a hold of them, and he got his start, as I was saying earlier, from the big hatchery in Iowa, Murray McMurray. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, I've got them saved on my phone.
Started breeding them to a standard for the colors and for the pecans and for the slate leg. And if your birds came from a hatchery, most likely even though they sell them as Ameraucanas, they are not. They're an Easter egg.
I found that. That's so frustrating.
There are a couple of hatcheries now that have actually purchased the start of real Ameraucanas.
Nice.
But all the rest of them, they just have this mixed breed, and they want to call it Ameraucana. Right now, there's 9 varieties that are recognized by the A.P.A, and a breed is not a breed until the A.P.A says it is, and it's not a variety till the A.P.A says it is.
Now that's here in America. There is a European Poultry Association, so if you're in Britain or Europe or London or overseas, y'all have your own rules. So you just defer over there. It's wonderful 2023. We live in a world where everything's worldwide now. So if you're overseas watching this video, refer to them, not us. If you're in America, the A.P.A is where to go.
That's right. I didn't think about getting outside.
We don't think about it, but YouTube and social media and everything nowadays, this information's worldwide.
Worldwide is correct.
So,
I forgot about that.
No, it's okay.
That I have people to contact me from around the world wanting eggs
Yeah.
because they can't ship chicks, and I will not sell eggs that go outside the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And I do know that I've got some baby chicks a couple of years ago in Korea
Yeah.
that they were smuggled outside the United States.
Yeah. Now that's a point I hadn't thought about. Ameraucana is an American breed. They were bred here in America, hence the name. It's not just for the patriotic sense of whatever, or because they're from the Ameraucana, it sounds the same, but they are American. This is a truly American breed of chicken. So if you are overseas and you're trying to get Ameraucana, you're probably coming to America to get them. So if you want to know the difference between a true Ameraucana and not be fooled by somebody selling Easter eggers or Ameraucana spelled any other way other than
Ameraucana.
spelling contest winner here. I couldn't do that if my life depended on it. Anyway, point being, you go to the A.P.A website. They'll have all the qualifications. They do publish a book. You can get that book shipped to your house. It's available on Amazon for about
$60. It's called American Standard of Perfection. I've got a 1998 model that I have totally worn out.
I got my copy last year. I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of it. I got my first copy last year. My mom got it for me. Thank you, Mom and Dad. I love that book. I refer to it all the time. It's got all the different breeds. It tells you exactly what the qualifications are for them, what they're supposed to look like, what's okay, what's not, what automatically disqualified. We got the chickens from Chile. We brought them over here. We make this perfect breed, and they get standardized. I can't talk today. By the A.P.A. And then what?
Then it's just a matter of reproducing them.
Reproducing them and getting them out.
Refining them. And they've been going for about 20 years before we got our first ones. And what our goal primarily was to perfect them, because they still had lots of flaws in them, to breed as many of those out as possible and to share them with as many people as it possibly could, so that nobody would have to show up at any show anywhere in the United States with Easter eggers being shown as Americanas, and that has happened.
Yeah, I imagine
As
so.
of now, we have sold our birds into all 50 states, including Alaska and Hawaii. And,
Y'all are definitely national, ready to go international.
we primarily sell babies because babies is
The shipping
the
here.
most economical way to get a start.
It is. With babies, they're straight run because you've got to vent check them to sex them, right? So straight run means that they're going to mix of boys and girls. On average, you're going to get about half boys, half girls per hatch. Yeah. And you don't know what's what with straight run, but the positive side is they generally cost like pennies compared to a full-grown layer hen. So even though you've got that guarantee, it's a hen, it's about to give you eggs, for the layer hens, with straight run, you'll just spend a lot more per chick. So if you're trying to get an initial flock and you have a way of either using or rehoming or just culling roosters, then straight run is definitely the way to go.
They eat very well too.
Yeah. I found that my
That's
Ameraucanas
why-
are just great foragers. So I think one of
to
the
be eaten.
as meat birds, they are
Right.
considered
Yeah.
dual purpose because of how
Yes,
big
they
they
are.
get. They really are. I like the fact that they're just that little bit of loose feathering too, so they tend to handle the heat a little bit better, but they've still got enough insulation to get through the summer. The peak home, it still loses heat through it so that they're still able to cool off during the summer, but unlike the fan combs, it's not susceptible to frostbite. Is that one of the reasons y'all chose the peak home as the standard?
Most likely, yes. But
Yeah.
that was done way before me.
Way before you. So what are some of the myths that you've seen it revolving around Ameraucana versus Easter eggers?
Well, just the
Do
whole
they
thing in
always give
general.
you blue eggs?
No.
Really?
They vary greatly.
Go figure.
And I have had a couple of wheatens in the past to lay a pink egg. And of course, they would be culled. They would go on, not butchered.
If that happens again, call me. I need pink egg layers right now.
We have some leg bars right now that lay pink eggs.
Really?
Yes.
All my leg bars give me blue. I thought that, and you know that's a myth. You'll hear a lot. Oh, if you buy this breed or you buy that breed, you're guaranteed this color. Well, it's kind of like with the copper Moran. There's different shades of that color. There's different shades of brown. I actually was so disappointed. I just learned that, and I thought I was doing good. I got like 4 copper brands and found out that they're all like level 4, and I need 8. Right, higher number, darker egg.
I see. But one of the largest myths that was way back there that I still remember hearing, and I hadn't heard it in a long time now because the people have become more aware of it, that their eggs were lower cholesterol. Well, that's going to deal with what chickens are being fed entirely.
Yeah, I just talked about that in my last video.
But if we look at the dairy cattle, somebody said something about that Jersey getting richer milk than the Holstein. And I know for a fact that they do, and so does the Guernsey.
Yeah.
And the only difference is the breed, because they can be running in the same pasture, eating the same feed, and just give different milk.
Yeah, but
with
chickens
the
aren't quite the same.
Chickens, it's what they're fed
Yeah.
entirely on the amount of cholesterol they're going to produce.
There was a deal recently on the news. I'm not going to say what channel, but I was very, very upset because the lady went on there and she said there is no difference nutritionally between a chicken that free ranges versus a chicken that's pinned up. I greatly disagree with you. Chickens that are pinned up are not getting the same kind of proteins. They're not getting the natural grains. There's a big difference between the egg yolk, egg color, and flavor, and nutritional value. So, lady, if you're going to do news, check your facts, please.
She must have been the one that read that in the book somewhere.
I guess book knowledge. She's a library expert, I guess, a research expert. They drive me nuts when people do that. But okay, so you've heard that Ameraucana eggs are more nutritious when in truth they're just like any other egg. It depends on what they're fed.
What they're fed entirely. But there's more myths in the chicken industry than anything I've ever heard. I mean, for example, especially about trying to sex the babies, that if you hold one by the back of his neck and it kicks its feet, well, it's a male.
Yeah, I found that the direction you hold the birds, and I've heard the opposite. If you hold it upside down and it struggles, it's a hen. And if it just lays there and just accepts life, it's a boy. Doesn't work. I actually had a gentleman recently. I love you to death, dude. You're awesome. You really are. Please, I'm picking on you just a little bit here, though, because out of those 6 you sold me, I got 3 girls, and you told me all were girls because they hung upside down, and I told you watch and see. So that is a myth. It's a lot of fun. The only way to really truly check for sex in a chicken at that age is if it's auto-sexed at birth, like the leg bars, or barred rocks, some others, sex leg. Anyway, those. Or if you can vent check it. Vent checking is very dangerous. If you don't know what you're doing, you can hurt the baby. So don't do that unless you've had special training. If you have had special training, congratulations. Please come get me. Let me know. I need it too.
And the feather sexing, in order for that to work, they have to have a certain slow feather gene bred into them. And
feather sexing.
That's why the hatcheries are making a mess out of that one.
Yeah, feather sexing is where the wings, they take the wing, they spread the wing out, and if all of the feathers are one length, the same length, then it's like, I get this mixed up, girl. And if they're different lengths, it's a boy, or do I have that backwards?
Well, I read or heard that if they were long, that they were a male, and if they were short, they were a female.
So, yeah, it has
There's
actually to do with the
nothing to
different
that.
levels, but it's, like he said, that's only for some breeds that have that slow feathering gene. It doesn't work for everything, but when you buy, and I'm going to put a video link right, and that video link, basically, if you watch that, that's a how it's made video on hatchery chicks. It's crazy. The way they sex them is feather sexing. And Mr. Smith's right, that does not work. I've bought so many hatchery babies that turned out to be boys and they were supposed to be pullets.
But it will work only if they're breeding a slow feather gene into the birds. A certain, I don't remember whether it's the females have to have it or the males have to have it. One of them does, and the other one doesn't. And with the show flock, you try to get rid of the slow feather gene.
Yeah.
And when we first started, we would hatch several hundred and keep most all of them. And when they were 6 weeks old, if they weren't totally feathered out like they were supposed to be, they went to a sale in Mesquite, Texas, to an auction just to get rid of them, to get rid of the slow feather gene. And now we as far as I know, we pretty well eliminated it from our flocks.
So the slow feather is a gene that is in lots of different breeds. It's not
Oh,
like one
yeah. Oh,
specific
yes.
breed carries this
No,
gene.
No.
Oh,
In all
okay.
of them. One of the,
I'm learning a lot here, people. I hope y'all are learning with me.
one of the largest myths I'd heard all my life in it is that if a male, a cock, has frostbite on his comb, that he's sterile until it's totally healed.
Oh
Well,
no,
if
that's
we remember back in 2021, February the 16th, we saw it -6 here. And I was worried to death because I had all these leg bars, and most all of them, they lost 3/4 of their comb just to the freeze.
that leghorn gene, that fan comb, that big comb.
That
They've
big
got
single
such a
comb.
big floppy single comb. It's beautiful. It's adorable, especially when it flops over. But they're really susceptible to frostbite. You've got to watch them.
And more than just the tips left.
Yeah.
And we only had one Ameraucana that had a little bit of a large comb, and he got his kind of bit just a little bit on top. And we had about 100 orders of baby chicks to be shipped out, and we were already hatching. Fertility was pretty decent already in the birds, and I was concerned about them not going to work. So I called my friend Mike Gilbert in Wisconsin and said, "Mike, how do y'all get along when you have this kind of weather?" He said, "Oh, whenever it gets cold like that, we just quit. We don't even save any eggs."
That's where I'm at. My chickens all go on vacation when it's like that anyway.
Yeah. I gathered the eggs every about 2 hours that day, and went ahead and sat to try to fill my orders, but it didn't affect them at all. And the myth that of it being that the male is sterile until he's totally healed, I'm going to say is incorrect.
So frostbite
some
does not
writing
affect
on that.
sterility, at least not frostbite of the comb does not affect sterility.
What I'm going to say that somebody read into it was that they had a male to get frostbitten, and of course they would have been up north because we very seldom ever see that cold down here. I've only seen it down to 0 probably half a dozen times in my life. And a male, whenever he goes through the winter and molts, and we have short daylight hours, he's going to be sterile. And he ain't going to get fertile until spring comes, until the weather warms, until the daylight gets correct, and the temperature gets correct, and then he's going to be highly fertile and ready to make as many babies as he possibly can.
That's what I was going to say. It's probably more related to just a coincidental, the time of the year changes, it gets cold, but at that same time of year, all the birds go on vacation and the boys aren't really interested in covering the girls. So it's like the perfect storm, but they're like, oh, it's the frostbite. It's not. That's just part of the same reason that they're not covering the girls. It's cold.
Now, I think that was just the whole thing behind it, that the males just hadn't become fertile yet. See, my males were already fertile in February because I was running lights on them. The lights were on a timer that would bring them on about 4 o'clock in the morning, and we turn them off at daylight.
Now, one myth I've heard is that if you always breed an Ameraucana with anything else, you'll always get green eggs. And I found, like you mentioned, some Americanas don't even give you blue eggs. So when you mix them, you tend to get a good mix. Like if you mix the Moran, you'll generally get what's called an all-layer, but sometimes you'll just get a brown egg. I'm really excited to meet you today. You have been a little bit of a mini idol of mine for a really, really long time. I've met some pig farmers, and I've met cattle farmers and goat farmers, and everybody's got their nice people and the ones that you just kind of want to forget exist. But it's just really nice meeting you, another poultry fan like myself.
Thank you. Same back, Sarah.
Same back. So, what is your favorite part of working with chickens?
Showing them.
Showing them?
I love to show them. I did when we first got into them in '99. We took our very first show was Belvedere, Illinois, and that was a district show, and that was in '99 because Matthew was born in December the 21st of '99. And
did you fit right in, get along with everybody just right off the bat?
September the 25th, because I remember it was my birthday to go. And during the show, or during the judging part, there were several of us that were there showing Americanas, which that was our first time to actually have any competition, because when Angela and I went to a show down here, we were the only ones there that had Americanas.
Oh, wow.
So we got to meet several different ones, and then they all got together and went as a carpool up to Wayne Meredith, which was only about 60 miles north of there in Munkawonga, Wisconsin. I may have butchered that name. But
we've got a comment section. Go in and correct him if you need to. Just the pronunciation, please.
But we got to tour our first Americana farm, and while we were there, we bought a trio of Wheatons and also blue Wheatons. That was our start of those.
Mm-hmm.
But as we attended shows and met more and more people that were involved in the poultry fancy, I became amazed at how many people that were involved with Jesus, that were Christian people. It still fascinates me even today, as there's a larger percentage of Christian people involved in the poultry showing than anything I have ever been in. And as you were talking earlier about the hogs, I did hogs for 25 years and showed them all over everywhere too. And of course there's Christian people in everything, but percentage-wise,
It seems to be more in the
there are more in the poultry than anything else I've ever seen.
I have a little theory. I think I've noticed that a larger percentage, if you look at like your different groups, you get the survivalist group, and then you've got the preppers, and then you've just got people that just believe in like providing for themselves and living off of the land as naturally as possible. And I have found that the majority, just a very large percentage of that particular group of people are Christians. God is definitely calling his people to live off of the land, to, as he commanded Adam and Eve, till the ground, break the soil, work it, and bring forth the fruit of the land. And I think chickens is kind of like the apples of the animal kingdom. You know, they're that first stop.
That's that starting gate, and that's just exactly what I was fixing to say.
Oh.
Say. It's taken me about 20 years to figure out why, but I'm one of those who likes to know what makes everything work, or why behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, the who, how, what,
and
why.
That is the reason right there.
Do you think so too?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah,
because the scriptures plainly tell us that it gives us a whole list of things, meaning, and among that's earthquakes and wars and rumors of wars, pestilence, and different things that's going to happen, and one of them is famines, and all of them have happened except the famines. And I really think there's going to be
It's happened some places,
worldwide
but not here.
famine.
Yeah.
Worldwide.
I watch a lot of the Nat Geo and the science channels, and some of that stuff it'll give you nightmares.
Yeah. And I personally feel that every time I send out a box of chicks, which there's going to be both male and female, and if the people that receive them are in an area where they can have males and raise their own chickens, at least they have a start to be able to furnish some of their own food.
All right, I gotta show this, y'all. Normally, I don't do side view stuff, but if you're wondering where the Donald Duck noises are coming from, right over there, Sergeant Dad has the cutest little Dotson on the planet.
Yeah.
Yes, we're ready to start looking at some chickens. So, are you ready to show me around?
Absolutely.
Yay! Let's go.
Okay, so when you've got a lot of chickens and you want to keep them safe from other disease and stuff that's on other people's properties, what you want to do is set up a sterilization or sanitation tub. Basically, this is just a little tub that you can dip your feet in before going from one area to the other. I love Anatolian shepherds. Such beautiful animals. We are getting close to the chicken area. I love the little chicken cottages that you've got set up here. Mm-hmm.
The last 2 years they have really crazy. I've had to rehome 10 of them.
Oh.
Carrying us off.
Now these are Ameraucana, right?
They're Americanas, they're leg bars, they're
A little bit of everything.
This is hatch number 7.
Hatch number 7. So all of these are for sale?
Oh, none of them are for sale.
None of them are for sale.
Right now, I'll raise them until they're about 5 to 6 months old, and then I'll go through them, and then they'll be for sale.
I love the little white ones. Those are cute.
We sell them either as day old, or we raise them up
Nice.
all the way. Normally these would already be outside, but due to having problems with the cats, I haven't put them out yet.
It's got quite a bit of space in there. I like the ledges on the side. And these are just cute. They look structurally just solid, like really solid.
These, I started building these in 1974. They were my first hog houses.
So you separate them and sort them by age?
Sort them by age.
So how old are these babies in here?
This is hatch number 8. They were July. Oh yeah, that's right. July the 5th.
July 5th.
Yeah.
These are 4th of July babies. These are Independence babies. These are July 15th.
I started with 42 and I've got 11 left.
Oh.
The cats got in there 3 times.
Oh my goodness, felines.
They took care of them for me.
So these are the littlest, the youngest ones.
Mm-hmm.
These are American black-bellied Barbados sheep. Aren't they beautiful? I love that almost like gold, like really gold and reddish. And apparently the only difference between the American black-bellied Barbados and the regular black-bellied Barbados is that the Americans have horns and the black and the other ones don't. It's really dry right now. We're in kind of a drought and the water level's low, but these cutie pies. Pretty animals. It's really beautiful out here, really peaceful. Wave hi, Mom!
Here we have Sergeant Dad.
Why are they separated like this in these pins here? Is this to control who Daddy is? So you've got males and females paired together in each kennel, and that gives them a chance to just be together, but not like be with everybody at the same time. So you can control who the daddy and who the mommy is and really monitor that. And this is the way professionals do it. This is how it's done. They don't stay in there for very long. We got an opal leg bars in this side. Pretty babies. And then on this side we have what?
It's just a wheaten cock.
Just a wheaten cock right here. Pretty boy. And I like these half opal. We're kind of developing something really similar to this out at our property, but in larger scale for our bantams. We're calling it the Kwanzaa hut. You've got about 200 tied up in each of these?
Now that one's one of the first ones that I built. They were about 100 apiece.
About 100 apiece.
It's got a 1/4-inch rod.
So the other one over there would be like with the hay bale, and that would be more of the $200 version.
I've got about 200 apiece.
So if you want to build something like this, people need to be between 100, and you end up with something kind of like this. It doesn't have as heavy a framework. Or if you want the heavier framework, you can double that and kind of go for a little bit more investment. And those are just hay bales that have been converted indoors, put in. That's pretty cool.
A pair of splits. And when you breed a split to a split, half your babies will be split. A fourth of them will be pure blacks, and a fourth of them will be pure self blues.
So it's half, quarter, and quarter. I think that may have been one of the mistakes in my video when I recorded it last time, because I believe we said half and half. So that's pretty cool. And these are, that's Ameraucana?
Oh yes.
Right there, and then
they're Americanas.
And then these over here, these are black Americanas. And then what are these over here? These are wheaten, right?
They're black with a lavender gene,
So they're black with a lavender gene.
which makes them a split.
which makes them, so that's called a split. And then that is a blue wheat. Wheaten. Okay, so
We've got black on the tail, black on the wings.
so wheaten have black on the tail and black on the wings.
Yes. And
All right.
a blue wheaten will have blue there on the females, and the female should be that color. It's where they get their name. Wheaten. It's supposed to be light, creamy wheaten.
Mm-hmm.
We've raised wheatens now 20 plus years, but we've lost them.
Yeah.
This pair, unfortunately, figured out that eggs were really good.
Oh.
And they liked them, so they ate their eggs, so they're gone. We've got 5 pair that we had this time, and we produced 2 chicks. So we're through with the wheatens. I need to cut back anyway. We've got too many.
Is that, so that's a breed you're phasing out?
That's a variety.
Variety.
Yes. Because we've got the leg bars now, and it looks like we're going to get into the line bars.
Now these are beautiful breeding pens. I don't know if y'all can see these. These are those huts. I assume these are made out of the hay bale holders.
Yes.
And you were saying they were about 200 each, but they work so good, and I like how you can put the 2 different breeds in there and really track who you're putting with who and keep that lineage good and clean. And then you say that so I see each cage is numbered, and then I assume that you said that number was written on the eggs?
Yes.
And then how do you track the dates?
The dates, you just got to keep records on that. I put the date on the egg.
On the
We
egg.
collect eggs for 2 weeks, and then we set them.
Okay.
This first pen here was self blues, and this trio of blacks.
So these are
These are pure
the blacks. These are pure black with no lavender teen. And then these here are self blues. Oh wow, you said lavender is the name of the gene, and the bird's variety color is self blue. See, we're learning a lot of things, people. Here we have blue and black, and by breeding blue and black together, you'll get half blue and half black. Now, if these were self blue, then that would be where you would get the splits in there involved as well.
Yes, and you never want to breed self blue and blue. That is a no-no. It should not be.
Why don't you breed self blue and blue
Because
together?
they clash.
They clash.
Those genes they're not compatible at all.
Oh, wow.
And you're going to get a bird that's going to be off color. That basically would be an Easter egg.
Okay.
I know there's been
So
a lot
if
of
you
people out
breed
there
to-
that's done like that, but they shouldn't.
That was one thing I had said in my video, was that in my opinion, what I was referring to was it would still have all the genetics as far as egg development and things like that, all the other characteristics of the Ameraucana, but it wouldn't look right in that. In my opinion, it would just be an ugly Ameraucana. But you're saying it would actually at that point be considered an Easter egger.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
And there's been a lot of people that's done that.
Yeah, I'm probably one of them.
Blues and self blues together.
Yeah, I don't think I've mixed that, but I've got some blue splash and some wheaten that I'm about to be throwing in the same pen.
There's been several projects.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what's going to come of it too. But so those would be considered Easter eggers though, because they're not going to be obviously any kind of accepted color.
That's right. Right now, there's 9 and 9 only recognized varieties of Americanas.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people are trying.
You said there's 9 varieties recognized?
9 varieties, and they're working on the 10th one, which is Splash. When you breed blue to blue, you'll get half of your babies will be blue, a fourth of them will be black, and a fourth of them will be what's called Splash, which is white with blue speckles or spots on them.
Okay.
And at one time, I considered some of that to be either blue and or black. But if you look real close on a Splash bird and watch them, that real dark spots that look like they're black are actually blue.
I still haven't developed the eye to tell the difference between the black and the blue. I wish I could get you out my place. I've got these 3 girls, and in my opinion, it looks like I've got one Wheaton, blue Wheaton, and then one blue Wheaton Splash. But it's because I can't tell the difference between the blue and the black really clearly yet.
Okay, with the blue Wheaton Splash, they're going to be like the Wheaton and the blue Wheaton on the females, but she will have flight.
Yeah.
On her tail and on her wing.
What happens if you breed a Splash back into like a Wheaton? A blue Wheaton Splash to a Wheaton?
100% blue Wheatons.
Blue Wheaton. So you won't get any Splash and you won't get any Wheaton. You'll just get... Well, that's good because I think my rooster is a Splash. He's got all these white speckles all over him, like just freckles everywhere. He's gorgeous. And his head is white and then his body is almost all black otherwise.
But now on a Splash male, he's basically, as Mike Gilbert made the comment, he calls them his patriotic chickens, red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
So he's basically white with red on his back and on his wings, and then we'll have some blue in his tail.
Yeah, mine still hasn't fully grown out yet. But he's a doll. He's very interesting looking.
One time I had 26 breeding pens of Wheatons, and now we've got none. And I have just shared them with hundreds of people across the United States where I didn't take care of myself.
Yeah.
I should have been keeping some babies and replenishing the flock. Instead, I let them age.
Yeah.
And Grandma hadn't had a baby lately, and neither has the old hen.
Oh no.
So anyway, they're fixing to be a thing of the past that we've had.
A lot of really great gardening space here. I know it looks really rough right now because it's the middle of summer, 110 degrees, and everything's being cooked. And I know we were talking on the phone, you were saying you were about to be clearing all this out and getting ready for fall. What are you looking forward to planting to? Looks like you had a really good spring crop when it was here.
Yeah. As far as planting vegetables, I've already got some beans planted that I'm going to get to replant.
Okay.
Planted some squash right after it rains.
So beans and squash and
that'll be all that I'm going to plant.
And that's it for the fall.
All the rest of it's going to be in wheat, oats, and elk and rye.
Oh wow, so you're doing some big grains
for the sheep to eat.
For the sheep to eat. A smart growing your own. If you're homesteading and you're trying to be self-sufficient, you almost have to grow your own feed, not just your own animals and your own vegetables. But a lot of people forget those animals have to eat, and grass isn't enough. They have to have grain too. So growing your own grain, that's real smart. Main business is actually lumber, cutting down the trees, clearing it out. Firewood. You got a lot here. This is beautiful wood here. What all kinds of wood do you cut down? What is all this?
90% of it's oak.
Mm-hmm.
First, that's oak closest to us, and then behind it is elm.
Mm-hmm.
All that came out of one tree.
Wow, that was one tree?
On the right here,
all that was one elm tree.
It was a huge elm tree.
That was a big elm
and
tree.
all that behind it is oak, and then there's oak. It's piled down the way there, and then I've got about 2 acres of pecan, and the elm came from him.
Nice. Okay, well, we made it home safe and sound. I sure hope this trip clarified a lot for y'all. I know I learned a ton, not just about Ameraucana, but actually one of my local heroes too. Mr. Smith, you are awesome. Thank you so much for inviting me over and making me feel so welcome in your home and on your farm. I really enjoyed visiting and seeing your animals and learning and picking your brain today. So thank y'all for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button down at the bottom. Okay, so you can't visit somebody like Mr. Smith and not actually look around at your own setup and go, what can I change? What can I do better? What am I doing wrong? And honestly, we're not doing too bad. We've got a really good start, but we've still got a long ways to go. So I was looking at what we've got, and I wanted to just kind of talk about our goals a little bit, just a moment here, and what we're going to do with some of this information that we got and some of this things that we saw. And let me show you what I'm talking about here. So this is the blue box, what we call the little blue house. And it's actually, I think, a lot better shape than I was worried it was in. I think I need to put some perch bars in there, and it wouldn't help to go ahead and put a nesting box or two in there. And I think it'll continue to do nicely for chickens in the future. We definitely have got to get shade. One thing I noticed was that everything was shaded at Paul Smith's house. Everything was shaded at Paul Smith's house. It was very, very nice. And we've got a lot of coops that are just out in broad daylight. So I'm really looking forward to some of these trees getting up and getting bigger. And I was thinking about incorporating some chicken tunnels with some shade, especially running between the Ameraucana coop and between the blue box over there. Our great coop area. These actually, I think, are bigger than what they needed to be too. They've got good ventilation, and they actually do have a good shade tree. So what I need to do at this point is isolate breeds based off of not just like breeds. Like right now, this is the leg bar area. We've got Frosties, we've got Opal, and Cream all in these two coops, and they're open. They all run together, which means that any of the birds that come out of there, yes, they'll be leg bars, but they won't be an approved color. They'll be what's considered I guess just a mixed color or a split perhaps. I'm not sure what the phrases for those are going to be, but if I'm going to breed Frosties, Cream, and Opal, I need to be able to close those doors off with one color in each of the boxes. So to have all three, I need one more coop over here. So we're going to try to get another coop built. And I have a great suggestion from Robert Granger. If you'll remember, he's the gentleman I bought the leg bars from. If you want to see the video, look up the video Lovely Leg Bars. And on that video, you can check out his farm and his setup. And I think I want to build one, something similar or at least structurally the same as what he had for his birds, that can go out here. And I think I want to also add a little bit more run space too, so that the birds can forage and their eggs just taste better and are healthier, and the birds stay healthier that way. Over here, our white coop. I think we're going to have to narrow this down ultimately to one breed. I would like to keep my white egg layers, my leghorns, in here, so this will ultimately someday become our leghorn coop, which means I need another place to put my brown egg layers, my Swedish flowers. So I'm thinking right out here. So there's the blue house on the other side of the grill, the little chicken train, which is a great just little shade shelter spot for them. But out there heading towards that tree in the middle, in this shady spot right in there, there is definitely a space right about where that branch is laying, actually, to put another coop. And I think that would be a really great spot for Swedish flowers. So I could have Ameraucana right there, which for now would actually be considered Easter eggers, because if you'll remember, I've got two different color hens and only one rooster. My rooster is the Splash, and then I've got he's a Wheaton Splash, but then I've got a Wheaton Splash girl, a blue Wheaton girl, and a Wheaton girl. I'm gonna have to check their tail feathers now that I saw a little bit more how that looks and see exactly what I've got. But I've got those. But then right here, these pretty little speckled girls, these are blue Splash. Well, at least that one in the background is behind the Easter egger. And the one that's in the water there, like trying not to give up on life in this 110-degree temperatures. Poor girl. So glad they've got good shade out here. But anyway, they are ultimately going to go in that coop as well. So those, when they hatch, will be considered Easter eggers, some of them, and then there'll be a few that will be considered pure Ameraucana. But in order for that to work, again, I've got to get that closed off. Now, and I'm in the shade. This is insane. One of the other things I noticed is that when he is breeding specific birds, he wants to be able to guarantee lineage, that it was this mom and this dad. I've always believed in what's called a breeding flock, and it's really because my priority is a different focus. My priority is not on guaranteeing lineage of the mother and father, because I'm not showing the birds. I do want to breed them for their breed and purity though, so I need to be able to isolate colors better. I need to be able to isolate colors better, and there's some other things that I want to work on as well. But one of those things I think I need to do is, if I do ever want to show birds, which will give me a higher level of credibility so that my birds have a better value, they're better known. Basically, I'll have a judge to look at them and go, yeah, this is good. This is what we're looking for in this breed. This breeder can produce that, and then people can feel a little bit more confident coming to me for specific breeds. So obviously, if Ameraucana are one of those things I need to do that with, Leghorns are one of them. I'm wanting to, the Swedish flowers is not A.P.A approved yet, so I'm probably not going to, be separating them out anytime soon. But if I want to add copper Moran, which I'm seriously considering doing, then I'll need a breeding pen for them. And I want to be able to show them someday. So while we're going to start by getting our housing situated, our general basic living structures, and I'm going to build up what I consider to be a breeding flock. Now, breeding flock is 1 rooster and 7 to 10 girls, and that you do that because 1 rooster can cover that many girls in like a time period, in a breeding time period. And you need to be able to isolate that rooster and the hens or hen that you are breeding them with for 21 days before you collect the eggs. And that's why it's so important to make sure that wherever you're going to put them to isolate them, they're really comfortable in. Now, once you've done the isolation process and you get to where you're like, all right, it's time, I'm ready, I want to breed this girl and this boy solely, and I want to guarantee her eggs. See, that's the rub right there. You can guarantee lineage by isolating 7 girls and 1 boy, but you don't know which girl gave you which egg. If you want to be able to say, this was the mom, this hen has the perfect features, and this rooster is the perfect rooster, so I'm going to breed them together and keep the best out of what I get from that hen. Well, you got to be able to isolate that hen. And that's why he had the smaller cages. Remember the one where it had just the 2 birds per cage, and then there was the arcs, and on each side was just the 2 birds, 1 male, 1 female. Well, that's why. He wants to show those birds. He wants to be able to guarantee lineage from not just the rooster, but from the hen. And the only way he can tell is to separate them, and then you actually go through and number the eggs, label them. If the hens have names and you want to use abbreviations, use their initials, whatever, however your code is gonna work, then you'll need to do that as well. So I was looking around. They need to be able to be cool, they need to be in shade, they need to have just enough space that they can breed, move around, have access to food and water, but not necessarily to flap their wings and fly around and be doing all kinds of cuckoo craziness. So that's why he uses the smaller kennels. Now, I've already got 2 smaller kennels, and I just need to have a place to put it. So check this out. I've got 2 of these right here, and I've got one that's a lot bigger than this that would work for a larger breed. And if you look, we've got windows on the porch here, but I love this railing that my dad put up. And if you look, the window stops right here, and I could come to the other side of it and clear all of this area here away from about, say, this post to the corner. And I am thinking I want to put a platform floor in here so it's all level, and I want to move kennels and put them up on a short ledge, maybe this tall, all the way across, and put 2 stacks of kennels, 2 layers of kennels, and that would just go all the way down with that. And I could even maybe put like sliding doors across here, and then go off of the corner of the house and put a flip door that would open this way on the end down there where the tiller is. So I think that's a good plan for that someday. I don't think that someday is going to be tomorrow. All of this is going to take a lot of time, And the main thing that we need to do is, again, to get that main housing established and be able to separate breeds so that we can guarantee that 21 days before we pull the two that we're really focused on together onto the porch. And I think I want to get a fan or something up in the ceiling as well. So it's going to take some time to put together, but I'm excited about this project. I think that's what I need to do. And I need to learn more about genetics too. I need to learn a lot more about genetics. If y'all know of any good books or anything on genetics, post them in the comments. I want to know, and I know there's other people out there who do too. So again, thanks for joining. By the way, I keep saying it, subscribe. Our next video, we're going back into the kitchen. We are going to do some good stuff. It's summer, it's hot. We all need ideas to cool off. And what better way to do it than with pie? I'm going to show you not only how to make a homemade pumpkin pie, it's going to be a cool cheesecake pie, one that you could even freeze if you wanted to, and or serve with ice cream on top. So looking forward to it. It's going to be yummy.